Ryanair and Spirit are the best at being the worst when it comes to aviation. Two of the most infamous ultra low cost carriers, these airlines are notorious for providing a minimal customer experience with lots of extra fees for the most basic amenities. While both Ryanair and Spirit are remarkably similar in terms of their onboard product, their profits tell a different story. One of them is broke, while the other has stuffed their pockets with over $1.5 billion of profit in 2022. So, where did Spirit go wrong? Let's begin with a quick rundown on both airlines. Currently, Ryanair, along with its subsidiaries, has a fleet size of 562 aircraft, the overwhelming majority of them being 737s. Spirit, on the other hand, operates an all-Airbus fleet of only 197 aircraft, all of which belong to the A320 family. Operating only one type of plane means flight attendants, pilots, and ground crew need to be trained just once, and they can be assigned any route. Repair and maintenance costs are also a lot cheaper. And since it's the same aircraft, they can be bought in bulk for huge discounts, which was what Ryanair did in the aftermath of 9/11, where passenger demand plummeted, resulting in even bigger discounts for the airline. Secondly, Ryanair flies to 222 destinations across Europe, while Spirit serves 87 destinations across the United States, Latin America, and the Caribbean. Perhaps the most surprising, the average ticket price for a flight with Ryanair is about $30, while Spirit charges an average of $98 per flight, and this is without additional charges. However, this is a bit misleading, since a Spirit flight on average is 250 miles longer. Therefore, the more accurate way of measuring the cost is by using the revenue per available seat mile, a fancy word for how much money the airline makes for every mile they fly per passenger. This can be calculated by the total operating revenue divided by the available seat miles. For low-cost airlines, ticket sales only make up half of the entire operating revenue. The remaining, as you can probably guess, comes from all the extra charges for stuff like food and drink, seat selection, and baggage. Still, Spirit emerges as the clear winner, as the airline makes 10.3 cents per passenger for every mile they fly, almost 3 cents more than Ryanair does. But something doesn't add up here. If Spirit is making more money off their passengers, then how is it so broke while Ryanair is making over $1 billion of profit? While both may seem similar on the surface, Ryanair has managed to cut costs and maximize efficiency at the expense of passenger convenience at a level that Spirit hasn't quite reached yet. For starters, Ryanair has a huge presence in the secondary airports farther away from cities that not many other airlines fly to. Flying to less busy airports means planes don't have to sit around all day waiting for their turn to fly, so Ryanair can optimize their fleet to fly to more destinations in a single day. Since less busier airports happen to be less expensive to maintain, landing slots are usually cheaper as well. Not only that, but the cost of using airport facilities such as the terminal, gates, and ground service is bound to be lower too. On top of that, Ryanair completely eliminates certain costs, such as the jet bridge, which isn't even in their dictionary. That way, they don't have to pay airport staff to get passengers across. Meanwhile, Spirit has an operating base at the world's busiest airport, Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta, where they have to compete with legacy carriers such as Delta. In fact, nearly all of Spirit's main operating hubs, Atlanta, Atlantic City, Chicago O'Hare, Dallas-Fort Worth, Detroit, Fort Lauderdale, Houston Intercontinental, Las Vegas, Miami, and Orlando, are pretty big airports. This could be due to the lack of a usable secondary airport, as is the case with Las Vegas, where the nearest airport, Boulder City Municipal, doesn't even have runways wide enough to accommodate a CRJ 900. Or more likely, it's because the secondary airport is already dominated by another low-cost airline that got there first, such as Dallas Love Field and Chicago Midway, both of which serve as focus cities for Southwest, so Spirit has much less competitive advantage there. Secondly, in order to keep all the revenue from the sale of their tickets, Ryanair doesn't use intermediary travel agencies, so good luck trying to book your flight with them on Expedia. But perhaps the biggest way that Ryanair has managed to cut costs is when it comes to their staff. You see, most of their pilots don't even work for them. Instead, they're hired as third-party contractors, so Ryanair only has to pay them while they're actually flying. The ones that do work for them, however, are paid some of the lowest wages in the industry because Ryanair uses Irish contracts with staff, so it can get around stricter wage and benefits requirements in other European nations. While Spirit has merely cut costs on the surface, Ryanair has truly revolutionized the low-cost model through its various cost-saving strategies that have made it one of the most, if not the most, successful low-cost airline despite earning much less on a per-passenger basis. In fact, the airline on numerous occasions has tried to push the boundaries of what is considered acceptable in order to further decrease operational spending and increase their revenue, such as when they considered charging overweight passengers extra, making passengers load their own luggage, charging passengers to use the bathroom, replacing 2 of their 3 toilets with extra seats, and even getting rid of some of their seats entirely in favor of standing berths with handrails and straps. Thankfully, none of this has become a reality, or at least not yet.